If the story of the sorcerer's apprentice Harry Potter were written today, artificial intelligence would certainly be a weapon of the dark power. And the sorcerer's apprentice from the famous poem by the German poet Goethe would repeat, "I can't get rid of the spirits I called." Welcome to the Kingdom of Dystopia. Welcome to the panel, New Security Paradigm in the Age of AI, Drones and Cyber Warfare.
Thank you. I'm Susan Ness, a former member of the Federal Communications Commission in the United States and an affiliate with both the Atlantic Council and the Annenberg Public Policy Center at Penn. In both places, I work on global tech governance. I'm honored to moderate today's panel on a very challenging issue of global governance and global importance. How do we navigate new security paradigm in the age of AI, drones, and cyber warfare? The accelerating advancements in science and technology offer previously unimaginable ability, among other things, to more speedily discover cures for diseases, improve food security, and produce accountability metrics and identify ways of reducing global warming, although AI utilizes right now enormous amounts of energy and water waste. There's also, however, a darker side to this story. Technology can also be engineered for things like lethal autonomous military applications, that is, to kill people without any humans in the decision loop. Advances in technology can also create and spread bioterror, cheaply and more rapidly create and spread deep fakes and disinformation with frightening implications for this election year. And they can execute cyber attacks on critical infrastructure. Advances in technology can also deepen the digital divide and seriously impact privacy and other human rights. Technology itself is neutral, and how we humans apply technology is not. How we assign accountability for harms is a critical area of discussion. We need a thoughtful approach that includes robust ethical guidelines, adaptive regulatory frameworks, and international cooperation to identify and mitigate these risks. And we need to make sure that a wide range of stakeholders from all regions of the world, representing civil society, academia, technology, and industry, as well as government, are at the decision table. As a former commissioner of the Federal Communications Commission, I know that regulating rapidly evolving technologies can also have unintended consequences of cutting off major breakthroughs, such as in science and medicine. So, how do we encourage innovation while identifying and mitigating potential harmful uses? Our expert panel today will try to thread this needle with their insights. We have 7 speakers and about an hour that stands between us and lunch. So to enable every panelist to speak, I'll ask each panelist a question, and then for a total of not more than 5 to 7 minutes to speak, so we can have everyone have an opportunity to engage in discussion. Let's begin with Bernardo Mariano. You are Assistant Secretary General, the Chief Information Technology Officer for the United Nations Office of Information and Communications Technology. You've worked over 30 years for the UN, including leading digital health initiatives at WHO and for the International Organization for Migration. Considering how rapidly technology is advancing, how can regulatory frameworks be designed to manage and keep pace with emerging technologies without stifling advances that benefit society? What should the balance be between innovation and guardrails? And is it even possible to regulate in this space?
Thank you, Suzanne, and happy to be here. Let me start by demystifying a little bit the hype. Technology historically has a hype cycle. From the hype of typewriters versus computer to the hype of the year 2000 doomsday. So there is a cycle that hype cycle that takes us normally through 5 phases, and one of the phases right after the technology trigger is the peak of inflated expectations. Now, in this journey, and I want to take you through that journey of technology in history, you have the 1960s, 1970s automation, robotic automation, that the hype was job loss. It did not happen, it created more jobs. We had the 1993 when CERN, the Center of Nuclear Research, European Center of Nuclear Research, invented the World Wide Web. We had the hype of iPhones and smartphones in 2007. And all that means that the human and machine relationship is evolving. And in that evolution, the regulation and the governance needs to evolve. And that's where the challenge is. The pace of technology evolution versus the pace of regulation and governance needs to be adjusted in a way that these regulations and governance, they catch up with this fast pace of technology evolution. So in 2002, we have the ChatGPT, the generative AI, and now there is the text to video. And some speakers mentioned about the risk of AI taking over the world. There's a hype there. And I think, when I was working at the World Health Organization, we even challenged the term itself, artificial intelligence, because the human intelligence is much more complex than what any computing power can produce. Of course, it can be fast in terms of generating insights, but cannot compare and compete with human intelligence. And by the way, the age of ChatGPT today, the researchers are saying that it's equal to the age of a 4-year-old child. Of course, now the question here is, how do we maximize the innovation versus ensuring that the technology is put to good use? And I wanted to remind all of you that contrary to 1848, when the gold rush took place, today the new gold is data. And we have the countries that have good regulations around it and countries that do not have. So as United Nations and this global framework that we have to bring everyone together, our role is really to try to create some sort of equalizer where the ones that have, be it development or technology, and the ones that don't have, somehow benefit from this technology. In terms of interaction or risks, researchers are saying 97% of smartphones use some sort of AI, voice-powered AI, and only 33% believe that they are interacting with AI. So that gap alone is already something to be concerned. It means that the lack of awareness might trigger all of us to be subject of misuse of that technology by few. We have a European Union AI Act that was recently published. We have the US Principal AI Guidelines, which is a bit more light. Of course, in Singapore, we have the AI Governance Framework. In Africa and South America, there's nothing so far. But within the UN, our role is to try to make sure that we play this equalizing role. So we recently, in 2022, issued the AI, the Principle of Ethical Use of Artificial Intelligence, signed by, adopted by, endorsed by 193 member states, that has some 10 principles, and some, the very first one is do not harm, to others such as humans are in control, and safety and security and so on. So for those who don't have anything yet, I think this is these ethical principles of AI and all the other initiatives such as AI for Good that the ITU promotes and brings member states, is to allow countries to be able to leverage on those to create national policies. Back to history. Nuclear energy versus nuclear bomb. You can see the two paradigms of technology. And that was also invented by scientists somewhere around close to the Second World War, and was quickly used and weaponized. So the risk of weaponizing AI is not science fiction, it's real, and it's happening. Recent research, I think, these two major countries already tested AI flying a fighter jet and performed dogfight. And they tested a dogfight between a pilot and the AI, and on all occasions, the pilot lost. Normally, a pilot, when in a dogfight, tries to do all the maneuvering to be behind the adversary and then shoot from behind. The AI-controlled fighter jet did exactly the opposite. It went head-to-head and maneuvering to shoot the other plane. So all to say that for us to really establish good regulations and good governance on AI, we need a new form of multilateralism. A multilateralism that brings not only governments, and talking about governments, who in the audience represents the private sector? Please raise your hand. Private sector. No hand. New form of multilateralism requires both the UN, the government, private sector, academia, and civil society to make sure that we together are able to leave a legacy in this world that we are proud of, but also the next generations and the generations after next are proud of in terms of governance, in terms of legacy, and ensuring that AI is used for good. Thank you.
Thank you. A very important point about getting all of society together to try to solve these problems. Mr. Samir Mammadov, you're the Deputy Minister of Digital Development and Transport of the Republic of Azerbaijan. Previously, you were an official in the Azerbaijan Department of Education. The Ministry of Digital Development and Transport is a government body that plays an active role in cybersecurity. As government leader, when it comes to cybersecurity, what keeps you awake at night? What practical steps have you taken to mitigate potential threats? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this esteemed panel at the Baku Forum. The platform that is known for posting, posing critical questions and gathering opinion formers and decision makers from around the world to trying to answer those questions. In fact, today we face new terminology, or started using new terminology called cyber warfare, which has significantly shifted global security dynamics, changing the way nations protect their interests and citizens. regional conflicts today, they're unfortunately very rich with cyber attacks. And a few years ago, Azerbaijan was and continues to be a target for cyber attacks by hostile forces. So you're totally right in the sense that the subject keeps all of us people responsible for the cybersecurity awake at night. National cybersecurity extends beyond the military conflicts, of course, and the global challenge surrounding this phenomenon can be categorized perhaps into three main areas. First one being the pace of digital development usually exceeds that of the cybersecurity measures. So we are in an era of fast digital development, but unfortunately the cybersecurity measures cannot compete with that development. Frequency of cyber attacks is also on the rise, with cyber attacks occurring approximately every 39 seconds globally. That's an unfortunate statistic. There is a shortage of cybersecurity experts that are needed today to support global economy, and the industry is struggling to fill this gap. In Azerbaijan, we face, of course, similar challenges, and over the past period, we have experienced approximately over 30,000 DDoS attacks and a lot of infection on the IP addresses side that caused real problems for both in the private and government sectors. So what we can do about these challenges? First of all, addressing these challenges, we face the realm of the cybersecurity that requires a multifaceted approach. It's a complex issue with many factors at play, including political power, economic policies, and development. However, there are several key steps that we can take collectively to tackle this global challenge. Firstly, we should develop comprehensive strategies. We need to craft robust, forward-looking strategies that address the complexities of cyber technologies. For instance, last year, President Aliyev signed the National Strategy on Information Security and Cybersecurity. This is a forward-looking plan for next 4 years that aims to enhance national information security, ensuring the safe use of modern ICT by the state, society, and individuals. It also aims to create favorable conditions for identifying and implementing measures to secure existing information systems and networks in both private and public sectors. Secondly, we should leverage international agreements. The role of international treaties and cooperative agreements in governing aspects of cyber warfare is crucial. Over the past year, strategic agreements were signed as part of cooperation with the Organization of Turkish States to jointly identify and combat cybercrime. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, we should foster collaboration to support the development of human resources. It's essential to foster a collaborative environment that includes governments, private sectors, and academia. In Azerbaijan, we have successfully established unique collaboration, and through that collaboration, Jointly with Israel's Technion Institute, we have launched Azerbaijan's Cybersecurity Center, a pioneering initiative in the field of cybersecurity in our country. The center aims to bring advanced educational experience and opportunities to Azerbaijan and to develop national human capital for cybersecurity. To date, 120 people have graduated from the center, with 80% of alumni being employed by state bodies and leading companies. The educational process continues with 60 successful candidates selected in a third wave from almost 2,000 applications. And over the next 3 years, we plan to train about 1,000 people in cybersecurity. Finally, we should promote public education and awareness, increasing public education and awareness about potential risks and protective measures against cyber attacks. It is crucial for fostering a resilient and well-informed citizenry. Therefore, it's important for both users and experts to be prepared against cyber threats. That is one of the tasks that our Electronic Security Service department implements on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you. What you're doing is so important to have a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity. Ambassador Milica Pejanovic-Durisic. I practiced it, but I know I've messed it up. You've had a very long political, diplomatic, and academic career. You served as Minister of Defense of Montenegro. Currently, you're the ambassador to the UN and a professor of telecommunication engineering at the University of Montenegro. Cybersecurity, we were just talking about, is a buzzword. What are the links between AI and cybersecurity? And what is Montenegro doing in the area of cybersecurity and AI? What lessons have been learned? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you, Nizami Ganjavi International Center, for putting this panel together and for keeping the debates we are having on the issues which are capturing the public attention and attention of all professionals who are working in the field. So as you said, we are coming from one buzzword to the other. We did have for years all these discussions about cybersecurity still having, which actually came as a consequence of the fact that our world is going digital, that we are having all those massive data sets, so-called big data, that we are having very sophisticated processing of them, that we are having distributed systems with machines being everywhere connected by networks where actually no borders exist, where location is of no value anymore. And then, of course, that caused all these worries with harmful effects that could be done by those who are not having an interest to use those technologies for the good of humanity or for the public good. From that point, on top of everything, now comes artificial intelligence as an ability of a machine to display these human-like capabilities, such as reasoning, learning, planning, and even creativity, of course. So whatever you consider it, whether it's a new technology or it is a tool, it does have that capability for being used for peace or violence, for being used for good or evil. And having all that, of course, that we are very much aware that any problem we are having right now is going to be even worse using artificial intelligence or having artificial intelligence everywhere. So why we are talking about this, why we are discussing, why we are doing all the research we are doing in professional field is that we've got to find the best ways to mitigate those risks while not cutting all huge opportunities which are present or are in front of us. So, in that sense, the debates we are particularly having when it comes to defense and security should be definitely approached from this double-faced perspective of artificial intelligence, which is becoming more prevalent not only generally in security and defense sector, but also in military, also directly in battlegrounds. So, like every industries, like every businesses, we are having also all these different military who is day by day starting to use more solutions which are based on artificial intelligence and all other technologies related with it, or I would say upgrades in other technologies enabled by AI, where actually they are trying to find ways how to be more efficient, how to be more cost-effective as well from that point, how to be more reliable, and that is something which is actually implying that we've got to discuss directly and to address a number of issues which are related to that kind of AI applications. When I say that, I'm talking about the implications that might be present for some warfare on a smaller scale, but also on a global stability and security. On an issues on responsible artificial intelligence and when it comes to defense and when it comes to military, to ask ourselves whether this is something we've got to be considered for all levels of applications or just for those which are critical ones. On the other side also, we've got to think what we've got to do in order to prevent artificial intelligence-driven conflicts. That is something which is so important, or maybe we are just overblowing all these worries in that sense, as we are able, even at this point, to imagine a situation where we are having fully AI-driven warfare, where machines are fighting machines and we humans are just some kind of bystanders. It's not a kind of science fiction we can't imagine. So generally, whatever application of AI in military, starting from, I don't know, target recognition, surveillance, homeland security, cyber security, autonomous vehicles, whether aerial or terrestrial, combat training, there is no doubt that using AI leads to these positive effects. And we shouldn't lose from our side the fact that AI could be also used in a positive way. It could be used also to promote arms control. It could be used for non-proliferation or even for humanitarian purposes, such as conflict prevention, disaster relief, or peacekeeping operations. That is something we tend to forget while we are so worrisome about these negative effects. So all these capabilities which are having such a significant impact actually are so much in our focus, because even at this point we are very much aware that AI could be considered at some point responsible for international strategic stability. A single choice, which is not fully guided, I would say, might upset the strategic relations between the world's major military power as well. So, having in mind that it is a kind of a double-edged sword, it has to be observed frequently with the right moderators and the right evaluators. As I said, a slight negligence can lead to nations' military to the verge of collapse, resulting in additional global instability in an alarming scenario that no one of us would want or could expect. On the other side, in a competitive and contested multipolar environment that we are having right now, it is very realistic to think about the potentially destabilizing influence of artificial intelligence and major military forces who could be unintentionally escalating different conflicts. As I see you are standing up, I just want to say that there is no much attention in focus in all these strategic documents we are producing very fast in the last year on these sectors, defense and security. We did have a number, and we are having still a number of initiatives, starting from the Secretary General of UN, where we are having this group which is working on governing AEF of humanity. These sectors are not, they are just touched upon. So I do believe that we should be putting a little bit of attention that these sectors which could be impacting so many things on so many levels could be treated in a very specific way, of course, but still that the focus should be more on them.
Thank you very, very much. Vladimir Norov, you're the former Foreign Minister of Uzbekistan, former Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the former Uzbekistan Ambassador to Germany, Benelux, EU, and NATO. What are the consequences, in your view, of unlimited and uncontrolled development of artificial intelligence, and how do we mitigate those outcomes?
Thank you very much, Susan Ness, for giving me the floor. First of all, I would like to thank leadership of Nizami Ganjavi Foundation for inviting me first time in the work of this forum. Certainly, generative artificial intelligence introduced by ChatGPT has become popular worldwide in a very short time, and the technology has potential to unlock trillions of dollars in global economy. As a consulting company McKinsey assessment, in 2030, the added value will be 15 trillion US dollar. At the same time, as it was said, AI poses potential risks. There are a risk that competition could push governments and corporations to accelerate the development of human-level AI, which could lead to catastrophic consequences, especially if they prioritize profit over safety and security. Scientists argue that once AI reaches this level, the risk of losing control of AI cannot be ruled out. As AI continues to advance, geopolitics may never be the same. Humans organized in nation-state will have to work with another set of actors, AI-enabled machines of equivalent or greater intelligence and potentially high disruptive potentials. We may have to compete with the opponent that is more cunning, more powerful, and more alien than we can imagine. AI has the potential to enhance national security in a manner of ways such as helping to detect and prevent crime, terrorism, and cyber crimes, and assisting in disaster response. AI also plays an important role in defense, such as helping with the target identification and autonomous control of weapons systems. At the same time, unlimited development of autonomous weapons could lead to a new area of machine warfare, beyond human control, which less protection for both combatants and civilians. One of the most extreme risks comes from integrating AI and autonomy into nuclear weapons. In this regard, there is an urgent need for an international agreement. At the international level, governments have been discussing the regulation of autonomous weapons under the UN Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons since 2014. However, today, no specific international norms or agreements on the use of autonomous weapons have yet been decided upon. As countries can use more autonomous drones in the air and at sea, the possibility that an accident or miscalculation could trigger an international incident becomes more likely. The 1972 US-Soviet Agreement on Maritime Incidents helped reduce the number of unplanned incidents between the US and Soviet navies during the Cold War. A similar agreement on autonomous incidents would help countries navigate the risk associated with the dueling autonomous system deployment in disputed areas. Reaching an international agreement on autonomous weapons is critical to establishing common standards, guidelines, and mechanisms for oversight, protecting civilians, addressing the harm they cause, and laying the groundwork for cooperation against future, even more serious AI threats. Although biological weapons are now banned among much of the international community, some states continue to pursue biological weapons program, and non-state actors pose a growing threat. We know about activity Al-Qaeda and ISIS in this way. As AI develops, the risk of an artificial created pandemic will increase, and it is a very serious threat. It is a threat to existential threat for humanity. To mitigate the risk associated with the malicious use of AI, it is necessary to hold algorithm developers legally responsible for potential AI missile or misuse or failures. AI could also increase the frequency and severity of cyber attacks, potentially damaging critical infrastructure, as it was said, power grids. The state and non-state actors are increasingly using cyberspace and internet for manipulation, disruption, fraud, extortion, data theft, and money laundering. It is now more important than ever for law enforcement and regulators to keep up with the pace of digital developments in the fight against cybercrime and ensure greater coordination and more effective utilization of cyber resources. Even with the most advanced cyber technology or infrastructure, states and organizations remain highly vulnerable to cyber attacks without adequate personnel to oversee and regulate them. According to the report by the International Information System Security Certification Consortium, there was a global shortage of 3 million cybersecurity professionals in 2021. Cyber attacks do not recognize national borders. There is not sovereignty in their area. And because of the nature of cyberspace, it is important to engage in cyber diplomacy rather than relying solely on cyber defense. In recent years, the internet has increasingly become the scene of geopolitical battles and the spread of disinformation. AI interference in the election and deepfake is a serious threat to the universal right of people to participate in the democratic process. The rise of the AI-driven digital economy could lead to the weakening of humans and their dependence on AI to fulfill basic needs. At the same time, as AI becomes more efficient, businesses are likely to replace more and more human labor with AI, potentially causing mass unemployment. That's why ethics are increasingly crucial to the development of AI, as is the use of fundamental principles such as fairness, inclusivity, transparency, accountability, respect for human rights. However, principles alone may not be sufficient, and the challenge is to bring clarity to these ethical frameworks and principles. This involves creating global standards and regulatory frameworks. Existing legal frameworks created in an area of more traditional technologies are unable to address the unique modern challenges posed by AI. Policymakers, lawyers, technology companies, and other stakeholders must come together to form a forward-thinking, collaborative, and adaptable approach to lawmaking that can keep pace with AI innovation and focus on data input, processing, and output. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You've certainly put a lot of really important ideas for solutions on the table. Amir Dossal, you're the founder and president of the Global Partnership Forum. It's a non-for-profit platform for building partnerships to achieve sustainable development goals. You're an accomplished diplomat, having spent 25 years at the United Nations, and you have extensive experience in global economic development and humanitarian issues. With the growing sophistication of AI and drone technology, how can public-private partnerships be used to create a more secure environment for all?
Thank you, Susan. And I just want to echo previous speakers to thank NGIC for organizing this very interesting conference, and especially this topic about AI and cybercrime, etc. Bernardo started by asking a question: how many people from the private sector are in this group? AI is actually not driven by government. AI is driven by the private sector.
Yeah.
And left to their own devices, they can do whatever they like. But if you engage them, if you bring their thought processes into the discussion, you improve the chances of AI being used for social good. And we have to recognize, like any technology, there's a good side and there's a negative side. AI can be used as a weapon, like the internet is used as a weapon. We go back many years when child online protection was a big issue. ITU had a program on it and so on. The UN system worked on it. Under Kofi Annan, we set up the UN ICT task force to find ways of using new technologies to kind of leapfrog to help member states. Today, there are about 67,000 new AI startups. Almost 15,000 are in the US. So the intellectual wealth is actually focused in the West, and within that, there are 10 companies who control that technology. I'm not a believer that we should regulate AI because it'll stifle innovation. I think we should figure out ways of creating a multi-stakeholder partnership where we benefit from the leadership and the intellectual leadership of the private sector, the norms and standards governments can set up, the work academic institutions do, and how civil society can play a role in this. When we try and do it alone, we fail. We think we know it all, we don't know it all. So I would recommend that we consider ways, and the UN has started doing this. The Secretary General created an AI advisory board last year, which includes the private sector, which includes, by the way, the brain behind OpenAI Foundation. OpenAI Foundation was created in 2015, but ChatGPT was launched only at the end of November 2022. And who was behind it? Elon Musk. So you have the big titans out there. We shy away from them because we worry about their politics, we worry about their thinking. But if you don't bring them into the fold, they'll wander off and do their own thing. So my recommendation would be, and I think the Minister and others also said, we need guiding principles. We need some norms and standards so that people stick to it. And if you have them at the table, they will find solutions. If you leave them to their own devices, then it'll be a free-for-all. And I know time is of the essence, so I'm going to stop here, Susan. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. Anna Birchall, you have over 20 years of experience in diplomacy. You're a former Deputy Prime Minister of Romania, a former Minister of Justice and Minister for European Affairs of Romania. How is Romania addressing rapidly evolving technologies and security threats from dual-use technologies, for example? As an EU member state, it will have to implement the AI Act. In your assessment, does the AI Act strike the right balance?
Thank you so much, Susan, and congratulations for moderating this panel. Firstly, allow me to say thank you to NGIC and to Rojvan for putting together again an amazing global forum. And particularly thank you to Ismail for pushing all the time this subject that we are discussing today in our panel. Before answering and addressing some of your questions, Susan, please allow me to congratulate President Aliyev for his re-election as President of Republic of Azerbaijan. His victory in the recent election is a testament of the truth and confidence of the Azerbaijani people in his vision and leadership. Under his leadership, Azerbaijan have achieved remarkable progress in economic development, international relations, welfare of its citizens, and regaining of its territorial integrity and international recognition. And as we are getting closer to the EU election, it is fair to remind my colleagues and friends from the EU that during the energy crisis, it was President of Azerbaijan, President Aliyev, and Azerbaijan who stepped in and actually helped our region and quite frankly saved our region and EU from this energy crisis that was pushed by Putin using energy as a weapon. Now, coming back to our discussion, we are undergoing rapid technological changes. Emerging technologies are being mainstreamed into our daily lives and are affecting the economic, social, and political life of technologically advanced states, with the rest soon to follow. These technologies include artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing, and more. For AI, as it was said during the discussion of this panel, their application include autonomous system, vehicle, drone, automated decision-making and industrial systems, smart cities, complex energy grid, high-level data analysis, and more. The adoption of these technologies is driven by the prospect of new efficiencies, new capabilities, and higher level of growth in competitive industries. However, they also come with risks, vulnerabilities, and threats. And I am very happy to learn that the private entities organized in an industry body have also tried to self-regulate by defining AI standards, which is an interesting evolution and a novel paradigm. And, as we all see in different areas as well, the competent authorities are often two steps behind the most advanced practitioners, especially when it comes to regulation. So, as a legitimacy actor, such as corporations find it expanding to get ahead of inevitable regulations drivers in order to avoid over-regulation, to retain influence over the regulation process, and to mitigate early on some of the negative effects of technological development. And we are seeing this play out in the field of blockchain, for instance, and have witnessed it in the de facto public-private partnership for cybersecurity that was mentioned earlier. So a few words about how ethics are in the AI. For AI, we can see multiple possible issues, many of which are more mundane compared to the apocalyptic visions of some opinion leaders. For instance, adversaries can use AI as cyber attacks or as a plot for numerous unmanned autonomous vehicles, including the autonomous weapons firing decisions. This leads to ethical implications as well as new prospects for warfare and for terrorism. AI can also be used in harmful ways as a result of legitimate business process. It can be programmed with bias to end up perpetuate discrimination. When it comes to deep fakes, AI can be used to fake messages from leaders and also to harass and actually humiliate ordinary people. And that's why education, as the Deputy Minister was mentioning earlier, is so important. And I am very proud that one of my earlier initiatives as a member of the Parliament was to actually push for the cybersecurity notions to be included in the education program from early on of the kids according to their age and going for, faster and higher as they are climbing to their education, to understand how they can protect themselves from the internet and from all the stress that are coming with the cybersecurity. But coming back to all the threats that we can face from the IA being misused being in the hands of people that are abusing the IA. The post-truth world is advancing partly because of the IA, and this will affect our ability to trust any information that comes our way, which is especially dangerous when trust in institutions is an all-time low. Lastly, with the debate on generative AI, we have seen the AI can be at the center of conflicts over intellectual property rights, upending entire industries and speaking social and labor conflicts. Not even schools are spared the impact of AI, as we see students relying on generative AI for homework, and in my opinion, that's totally wrong. About the EU, obviously EU is addressing those issues, but so many problems cannot be addressed through a single piece of legislation or code of conduct. It requires an entire framework of governments and an entire philosophy. So for the EU, this is an ethical and trustworthy AA paradigm, and it is one of the most developed in the world. And of course, we've been in close partnership with the United States, and we are coming up with a lot of regulations. But my view is that in addition to mandatory regulation, the EU has also developed generative principles for AA ethics, voluntary codes, recommendations, and other forms of non-coercive governance, including in the partnership with actors such as the US. And about Romania, I'm very, very proud to say that we have an amazing, talented human resources when it comes to the IT sector. We are at the forefront of the cybersecurity. It's not that much well known, but I'm very proud to say that for many years, Romania was looking after the cybersecurity of Ukraine, and we are doing it with very much efficiency. And I can give you thousands of examples when we were able to actually counter the malign influence of such a cyber threat. And before ending, I would like to just say a few words about the AI and the defense and military, because as the world navigates through a pivotal area marked by rapid technological evolutions, military strategies and defense leaders are increasingly confronted with the profound implication of these challenges on national and global security. And the integration of artificial intelligence and unmanned aerial system into military operations signifies a transformative shift, ushering in new paradigm of warfare and defense capabilities. This transition necessitates not only an adaptation of tactical and strategic frameworks, but also a fundamental reevaluation of how to ensure peace and security in an area dominated by digital and autonomous technologies. And, you know, it was talked here very, very well about the implications and the link between the AI and the defense and military. And I think, as it was said, cyber warfare emerges as an invisible yet critical front where adversary can launch digital attacks on infrastructure, informative systems, and public trust from the shadows. These realities challenges traditional defense paradigms and underscores the need for resilient cybersecurity infrastructure and proactive defense strategies. And I do believe that with all the efforts
Let's put a point there now. It's an important point.
Yeah, could I
but we still
please?
have a panelist to go, and I'd like to have everyone have an opportunity for closing comments.
So in conclusion, I give up my closing comments. I can conclude now. I do believe that the AI, it could benefit and contribute to the benefit of the world, but we all need, each and all of us in our domains, to make sure that that's not going to abuse and actually will play the revolutionary positive role that any technology can play in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambassador Egemen Bagis, you're Ambassador of Turkey to the Czech Republic, former Minister of the European Union and Chief Minister to the European Union and Chief Negotiator for Accession to the EU. What is your take on all of this discussion? And what is Turkey doing with respect to AI and these other issues?
Thank you very much, Susan. It's great to be back in Baku, one of the most beautiful cities, the shining pearl of the Caspian. I second Anna's congratulations to President Aliyev. but not only for his re-election, but also for delivering the dream of the Azeri nation to take their rightful land, Karabakh, back. That has been really a very important achievement. And the topic of today's panel, drones, cyber issues, and using AI in defense played a very important in that victory. One of the most important actors of artificial intelligence is probably Elon Musk, and he recently said that AI is progressing faster than expected, and he added that the future is quite dark. So we all have a responsibility. No one can escape from the fast development of technology, and nowadays multinational companies are greater actors than even states. So governments are trying to consolidate their supremacy against these technology giants, and this is becoming a very important global phenomenon. NATO in 2016 recognized cyberspace as a new battlefield, and we are now seeing efforts on both sides of the spectrum using cyber attacks. This country, our host country, Azerbaijan, suffered direct cyber attacks coming from Silicon Valley during their war in Karabakh, because we all know the Armenian-American lobby is quite influential there. So no one can escape from there. In terms of the potential risks, we encourage discussions in relevant fora, focus on responsible use. NATO had a pioneering role in that regard with publicizing the principles of responsibilities. Responsible use identified in AI strategy in October 2021. This responsible use of artificial intelligence military domain initiated by Netherlands and Korea, which my country, Turkiye, participated, stands out. We will continue constructively to engage and run to the second summit in Seoul in the end of the year, in September. So we value such initiatives supported by US-led political declaration of responsible use of AI and autonomy as well. Turkey believes in humanitarian considerations should always lie at the center of the life of AI-powered autonomous military systems. We attach importance to this meaningful human involvement because, as our panelists mentioned, if you take the human touch, you might bear consequences because AI has no concept of emotion, no concept of fear, and no concept of conscience. Therefore, the human part can never be eliminated, and we have to prevent that. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized intelligence gathering and decision-making processes as well. So we should enhance international cooperation and develop actors. Drone technology is something that we are quite advanced as far as Turkey is concerned. Our Bayraktar drones have proven their capabilities not only here during the Karabakh War, but in Ukraine, in Libya, in many other parts, but also in our fight against terrorism. So, but they're always human controlled. Because if you just let the artificial intelligence run its course, then you risk losing innocent civilian lives as well. Therefore, as digitalization continues, humanization should also continue. We cannot give up from there. To make the long story short, all I want to leave is this message that human touch is very important, and this concept of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity requires global consensus. All you have to remember from this panel is nobody is safe until everybody is safe. Thank you.
That's a great comment. No one is safe until everyone is safe. And the need to work together, as we've been hearing from so many of the panelists, is critical at this time. I'd like now to get just reaction for less than a minute, because we only have 5 minutes left of this panel, and we stand between the panel and lunch. So if I could get just some closing comments from each of the panelists, that would be terrific. Why don't you begin?
Thank you. I think as other panelists said, and as I said in the beginning, we need a new paradigm. Digital ecosystem does not have borders, so there's no such a thing as being safe. There's no legislation that works all over the place, so leveraging on the power of the convening power of the UN, considering what the Secretary General has started already, the high-level advisory board on AI that includes both private sector government. But I think what is important here is in this new multilateralism, we need to bring from each one of us basically the brain power that brings together government, private sector, academia to look at the research and making sure that we learn a lesson, because when plastic was invented, we were happy. When satellites were launched, we are happy. But then we have now debris in the orbit, that I think is 35,000 debris orbiting the Earth. So we need to use the power of AI and the researchers to really create these predictive models that will allow us to be safe and be making sure this technology is used for good. So I wanted to also close by thanking the NGIC for inviting us in this panel, for talking technology, but also to make sure that AI and technology is an integral part of development across the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Samir?
I think overall conclusion from speeches that we heard today is definitely that we should join forces, and this kind of events are very good panels, platforms for that. We should be promoting research and development in AI, because that's the future. We cannot avoid that, and we cannot stop digitalization. But at the same time, we should also develop a workforce specialized in AI and cybersecurity. That's another key task for joining the efforts. And we need to protect the rights and privacy of our citizens. And for that, the regulation is important. So these are the key steps that Azerbaijan is taking in terms of AI development, and we just drafted a new program that is being reviewed by other bodies as well. Hopefully we will have a strategy accepted in this field as well soon. Thank you.
Mahika, thank you very, very much. Mahika.
Yes, I mean, all of us and everywhere we are talking about this aspect, which is responsible artificial intelligence. And I believe that there we should be specifically focused on what is possible and what is not possible. As it is said, we didn't manage to do that with internet, and I don't think that any kind of rigid regulation will be working here, but still I do believe that there should be some red lines delineated not to be crossed. So when we are talking about these things, I should be thinking about maybe checking the compliance with the law by having an approach which is not and aftermath thought. So you've got technology in place, you've got applications, and now we will be thinking how to ensure compliance with the law. The other approach, as it would be compliance by design, might be more effective. But in order to do so, we've got to start with those who are developing, testing, evaluating these systems. There, actually, you can't anticipate everything which might happen, and you cannot expect that everything will be coded in advance. So you would not expect of those software engineers to have in-depth knowledge of international humanitarian law, for example, as you can't expect from us as end users to have that kind of knowledge to be software engineer. And in that sense, I do believe that private sector is having a huge responsibility to ensure that kind of environment where those who are developing are very much aware of all these considerations and legal impacts we are talking about.
Thank you. And Vladimir Norov.
Thank you. Here was very rightly said about inequality. It should be not monopoly of separate states, big powers, and tech companies to have advantage of the AI at the same time to use AI for manipulating in developing countries. What is important to mention that 2.6 billion the population of the world, mostly 96% in developing countries, have not access to internet. Central Asia and South Caucasus is located between two powers in AI, European Union and China. European Union recently announced a global gateway and digital connectivity program for Central Asia and South Caucasus. At the same time, China, in framework of One Belt, One Road, the same digital Silk Road, this is again focused on our countries. There should be not competition between these powers, but I think that two programs should be conjunction of two programs for rising potential of Central Asia and South Caucasus countries for using AI advantages for their developing the economy from one side. From other side, to rise their potential for cybersecurity and other risks which rising from using AI. Thank you.
Thank you. Amir Dossal, please.
Thank you. I just want to give you some background. Last year, after ChatGPT came on board, together with ITU, and in fact the Permanent Mission of Romania, and the Global Partnerships Forum, we launched a conversation on generative AI, fact or fiction, during the UN STI Forum. It was oversubscribed compared to the main stages. Right? So I'd like to propose that perhaps the Global Baku Forum consider creating a kind of a permanent forum on AI for good, where you bring together private sector leaders, academic experts, and see how it can help other developing countries. Azerbaijan is really at the juxtaposition where it can engage with the North and help the South as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. And Egemen Bagis, please.
Well, thank you very much. I think it was a very intriguing panel. As Churchill said, we tend to do the right thing after exploiting all the other options. I hope this will not be the case in terms of how humanity deals with AI and cyber issues. Therefore, sovereignty and legitimacy of the states in the world and the world order should be protected in this area as well. And maybe we can find a way similar to peaceful nuclear energy convention to make sure that we don't turn what we have invented into our biggest enemy. Because our future depends on our mutual cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. There are many national, regional, and global efforts underway to rein in artificial intelligence. Many overlap, some are contradictory, but taken together, there is an enormous push for activity in this area, a critical amount. Is there a way for global leaders to work together to form understanding and norms around behavior in the digital realm? We had an interesting proposition about having the Nizami Ganjavi International Center do a convening and continue to talk with all parties about how they can take responsibility and resolve some of these issues. Sounded like a wonderful idea. Because it is so vast and there's so many aspects to artificial intelligence, joining forces with civil society, companies, technologists, governments, and academics is critical at this point in time. I want to thank all of our panelists for doing an incredible job with an extremely difficult topic in an hour. And I also want to greatly thank the Nizami Ganjavi International Center for hosting this amazing conference over the last couple of days. We've learned a tremendous amount, and I am extremely grateful to be part of it. So thank you all very, very much, and please join me in thanking the panel.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.